and to show us older folks how to operate all the electronics and such, along with the operation of all aspects of our new truck. Great buying experience. And you may have heard about their low prices.
Don't miss Ram Truck Month. You'll love their low prices sales event and receive the absolute lowest prices.
Even though we may disagree on some issues, we both refer Dave Smith Motors to friends, to family, and to our radio fans. Choose from over 1,500 new Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams. Call 800-635-8000 or davesmith.com, and remember your complimentary shuttle from the Spokane Airport.
Hey everybody, Don O'Neill here to remind you that the home you've been dreaming of is waiting for you right now at PacificRidgeHomes.com. Pacific Ridge Homes, a D.R. Horton company, an equal housing opportunity.
693-2776. From the Online Training Academy studio, this is AM 770 KTTH.
We are so close to the big local. It's not even funny. But first, it's time to get you to work the right way with Right Way traffic.
A stall in Everett still causing problems for southbound 5 drivers. It's sitting at Marine View Drive on your right, but it's a big visual distraction. And now we've got a stalled garbage truck partially blocking the exit from eastbound 90 to Mercer Way, and that's jamming things up a bit. Westbound 90 is heavy from Bellevue Way all the way across Mercer Island. S-curves are solid, and it's tough getting over the Snohomish-King County line now down to 520, both on South 5 and South 405. Walgreens is here for your diabetes needs. Stop by and consult with your pharmacist and get advice and tips about your medications and supplies. That's AM 770 KTTH traffic.
State colleges are trying to figure out what banning the box means for them. Plus, Wazoo just threw a whole bunch of cash down the toilet. It's time for the big local, brought to you by Tulalip Resort Casino.
Olympia, Sammamish, Lakewood, Bellevue.
This is the big local on the Jason Ranch Show.
Bellingham, Kirkland, Seattle.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
So I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of the media being so hyper-focused on the city of Seattle, ignoring all of the interesting, important, even quirky stories that are happening all around Seattle. And so during the big local, 7:30 weekday mornings on the Jason Ranch Show, we talk about you, not the city of Seattle. And we start by talking about all of the state universities and colleges around Washington State that are impacted by a bill that's currently under consideration in the State House. If this bill ends up becoming law, state colleges and universities will have to quote-unquote ban the box. What does that mean? It means they can ask prospective students on their application if they've got any criminal convictions as a means to deny them acceptance into the school from the start of the application process. Now, you at some point can in fact ask that, but at the beginning of the process, you're not supposed to. A Wazoo doctoral candidate in psychology, according to the statesman, says one study shows 62% of convicts fail to finish their application process when they're asked about their criminal background. Meaning they have this interest in going back to school after being convicted and, fulfilling their punishment. They want to go back to school. They want to get their life back in order. Maybe they want to go to Wazoo. Maybe they want to go to Evergreen. Probably not Evergreen. And they get this application and they're saying to themselves, okay, this is me getting my life back in order. And then they see the question, have you been convicted of a crime? And they believe, in large part rightfully, that if they check yes, they're not going to be able to gain acceptance into that school. And so what do? They just completely give up on the whole process and they move on. Now, according to State Senator Marilyn Chase, a Democrat from Edmonds, who we're going to try to get on the show this week, she believes that removing that question about criminality would give people who did their time a fair shot at rehab. She's quoted as saying in the spokesman, we should remove any barriers we can to those people who have paid their debt. Christopher Poulos, executive director at the Washington State Reentry Council, said simply asking about criminal history does not accurately assess a person's current qualifications. He's quoted as saying, allowing us to get our foot in the door and explain who we are as a person, rather than only a name or a number, helps substantially. I have no doubt about that, but I also feel like banning the box in whatever form it takes, because they're talking about this as far as businesses are concerned as well. In a lot of ways, this was started as a movement from landlords denying access to their apartment complexes or homes because someone has a criminal background, understand you're just going to be wasting a whole lot of people's time. Because there are some criminals who no one wants to give access to their school. There's homes that no one wants to give their access to based upon their criminal background. If you get out of jail, you served your time for rape, for example. What college in this world, in a Me Too movement era, would want to just welcome them in with open arms? Oh, you committed a rape. Well, it's okay because you did your time. Would you let someone like that babysit your kids if they were jailed for rape? If they were jailed for molestation, they did their time, they're out. Would you let them babysit your kids? Probably not, right? I mean, the vast majority of you would say, of course not. There's no way in hell I would ever allow that to happen. And you know you're not going to hire them no matter what they tell you. They can come to you with a sob story and how they've changed completely. Jail time actually changed them. Their whole lives are different now. They're trying to get on the right path. You're not going to put your 4-year-old daughter or your 4-year-old son with the child rape. So why can't we just set that standard up at the top? Why can't you just say at the beginning of the process, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be open-minded as much as I can, but there's some things that I'm just not going to allow to have happen. That's not worth the risk to me. Rather than have them go through the job application process, or in this case, the school application process, only to find out that they were rejected basically for being criminal, and just having wasted everybody's time and energy. If they don't complete the application, that's on them. That's on them. I'm sorry if I'm not running around wasting my own time to try to make it easier on a convict to get a potential job, a convict who chose to commit a crime, who wasn't forced into that lifestyle. Pardon me if I'm not running out of my way to make sure that their life after jail is as easy as they'd like it to be. There's no doubt that it is difficult, and I want people to get, as a society, we should want people who have committed crimes, who have paid the price, to get reacclimated into society. It doesn't mean I have to go overboard and put myself at risk or others who I care about at risk to go ahead and make their lives a little bit easier. Sorry, I didn't sign up for that. And I don't think we should be just deciding that we're going to kowtow to this touchy-feely movement that could potentially put lives on the line. Here's the deal. I believe that once you go to jail, there are some people who have been fully rehabilitated. There's no doubt about that. I have an open mind when it comes to potentially hiring someone who committed an act of violence and went to jail. Now, am I going to hire a producer who I find out this in this world, Jacob, you've gone. You've moved on to you haven't died. You haven't moved on like that.
That's tragic.
No. You went on to another show in Topeka, Kansas, or some podunk market that you're going to be unhappy with. If you ever leave me, I want to make sure it's a step down. But in this world, you're gone. And so now let's say I'm filling this producer position. If I find out the person who applied has a tendency to beat up people, probably not going to want to hire that person.
Right, wait.
Now, if I find out that...
Like that it would be a viewer, just like in general, you don't want...
I don't want to get beat. I'm very beat upable.
Okay.
Like, what if I find out they went to jail and they did time because the last radio producer job that he had, he kicked the ever-loving crap out of the host? Like, I'm never going to hire that person. I'm sure he had his legitimate reasons. I'm sure this individual is now fully rehabbed. No interest in hiring someone like that. Now, someone who maybe committed an act of theft because they were poor and they wanted to do good for their family, I'm certainly open to having that conversation and just telling you that you were convicted of a crime if you're otherwise qualified. Me personally, I'm not just going to automatically say, nope, I have zero interest in that. I want to find out more about it. I'm saying, why don't we start the education process for the people who are making these decisions, whether or not we're talking about going to college and an admissions board, or renting out a home if you're a landlord, or going into a business as an employee if you're the one who's making the hiring decisions. Why don't you start by having an offensive sort of campaign that says, they've done their time, here's why you should be more open-minded, and leave it to me. Because you know what? The person who's making the hire or making the admissions decision, all of this is on them. They've got everything on the line. There's nothing on the line for the individual who applies. They can apply and they may or may not get the job. But we're assuming the risk. So why don't you just tell me the risk at the beginning and let me make up my own mind rather than try to force this decision on me?
You can still use that information later in the process,
but it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time if you know you're never going to, under no circumstance, will you ever hire or rent out to someone who's committed a rape, for example. Like, that's not where you're going to go. Nothing that can be told to you will change your mind. Just let's get that up front.
But for your
Just get it up
for your
front.
example, there are crimes that people could commit that wouldn't bother you.
Yes,
and you
which
would
is
still be
why,
able to hide.
again, you should be told that as an educational mechanism of you should stop just flat out saying no to them. I do think that people will listen to the education. Education, as it turns out, actually works. We learned that when people were telling us not to smoke, right? We kept seeing the ads of what smoking will do to you, and then all of a sudden it picked up, and then you got the societal change where less and less people, fewer and fewer people than ever before, are smoking cigarettes. Why? Education works. So why all of a sudden are we not going to do the exact same educational effort when it comes to this?
You don't think it's both?
No, I don't think they've tried the educational stuff.
Also, pursuing this type of legislation is what ends up having this conversation. People are getting more educated. I don't think people
have the conversation first, and then see if the education works. And then, if you need to,
how are you going to
down
that? How are you going to get that? How are you going to get that education out?
The same way education happened with cigarettes.
In schools, we're going to go into schools and tell people when you're managers.
You think education only happened in schools? How many times have we seen these ads?
For the most part.
Everywhere, training programs everywhere, offered either by the state or individual nonprofits. How often do we have the training about understanding our implicit biases and all that stuff? Well, if you keep up with that
too.
Yeah, because it's meant to be ideological based. But I mean, if you want to put that forward, I think that there's some value in that. Stop trying to get me to make decisions that you would want to take on. If that's your decision, if you want to hire whoever is being accused of whatever and have gone to, okay, then that's on you. Stop trying to force everybody else to do it. The question I have is how many convicts, convicted felons, are working for Senator Marilyn Chase, or the House Democrats, or the House Senate? Like, tell me that answer. And I'm willing to bet that there's very little. So are you guys even putting the money where the mouth is? Are you guys going to decide to walk in the path that you're asking all of us to take on? The answer is probably no. Now, we'll try to get Marilyn on. Or Senator Chase, sorry. I call them first name, because then maybe they'll be nicer to me when I yell at them. Finally, Wazoo is cutting budgets all across the campus. What was it, 2.5% per department this year? Across the board budget cuts, because they have a financial hole that they're trying to get out of. Apparently they have money to spend on nap pods for students. They spent about $40,000 on recliners and napping pods in the Chinook Student Center. That according to invoices obtained by their student newspaper, the Daily Evergreen. The money came from mandatory student fees. You got about $98 a year to use this particular center, and part of that money goes into buying these things. Now, apparently, and maybe this happened when you were there, Jake, because you went to Wazoo, students were asking for this amenity. They did some sort of survey where they said, what would you like in our student center? And a lot of kids, at least enough, spoke up and said, we want these napping pods. So the school is saying, we're just doing it because you guys asked for it.
Yeah, I mean, you also don't even need to do a survey. I would fall asleep on couches in the public areas. Like, it just happens.
If you were positioned with, we're going to do 2.5% across the board, we're going to cut this drama program that they cut because it was $250,000 or so, or something along those lines, or we'll give you these nap pods. Do you think students would still take the nap pods or this type of amenity over these other mandatory budget cuts, or would you say, you know what, save the $40K, why don't we put it into protecting various programs? Do you think they would still go with the amenity?
Like if there's like a Democratic vote?
Yeah, if it was an actual vote.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think particular college students probably just want nap pods.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's intelligent.
And so I find myself not being all that angry by this because you're paying for it. I think it's just an inefficient use of funds, right? I mean,
but
let's be clear. Yeah, absolutely. But you can take a nap in your dorm room. You can nap on any couch.
Yeah.
You don't need a special nap pod there. That just seems rather wasteful.
They look pretty fancy though.
Yeah, and it's just like a cover over your head. You're just in a recliner, and they just cover your face. Why don't you just get a $1.99 sleep mask and give them away? I mean, you're gonna have to spray them down every time someone uses them, but still, you think they're clean. They're not cleaning the nap pods. That's all I'm saying. You're listening to the Jason Ranch Show. Time to get your work the right way with Right Way Traffic.
Salt and Everett still causing problems for southbound 5 drivers. It's sitting at Marine View Drive on your right, but it's a big visual distraction. And now we've got a salt garbage truck partially blocking the exit from eastbound 90 to Mercer Way, and that's jamming things up a bit. Westbound 90 is heading from Bellevue Way all the way across Mercer Island. S-curves are solid, and it's tough getting over the Snohomish-King County line now down to 520, both on South 5 and South 405. Walgreens is here for your diabetes needs. Stop by and consult with your pharmacist and get advice and tips about your medications and supplies. That's AM 770 KTTH traffic.
With the end of March comes the end of winter, so beat the summer rush and get started now on the new home building or remodeling project you've been talking about. Call You Build It and find out how to get the home you really want by taking control of your own home build or remodel. That's what You Build It is all about. And with You Build It, you can save as much as 30% from using a contractor. Call 1-800-YOU-BUILD-IT today for a friendly, free, no-obligation appointment to find out how. Or visit youbuildit.com. You Build It is the best way to build or remodel.
Dave Ross with fellow radio host Michael Medved and another Dave Smith Motors customer experience.
Thank you, Dave. And here is another very satisfied Dave Smith Motors customer who writes in, my husband and I have bought 2 vehicles from Dave Smith, and both of our experiences have been great. Everyone is always very friendly, helpful, upfront, and honest. We've recommended them to several family and friends. They are the only dealership we will buy from. And you may have heard about their low prices.
And during the low prices sales event, you'll get the absolute lowest prices.
Even though we may disagree on some issues, we both refer Dave Smith Motors to friends, family, and our radio fans, just like Dave Smith customers refer their friends and family to Dave Smith Motors. Find out why Dave Smith Motors is consistently the Northwest's largest GM dealer, selling new GMCs, Chevys, and Buicks by calling 800-635-8000 or davesmiths.com. And remember, your complimentary shuttle from the Spokane Airport.
Just because you're in pain doesn't mean you have to stay in pain. If you're suffering from backaches and arthritis, safe, soothing, odorless Topperson Pain Relief Cream.
Old, and I thought it was my demanding lifestyle. I started feeling loss of energy and stamina. Having treated thousands of patients with low energy and sex drive and seeing them improve, it hit me. My symptoms were similar to my patients. With the modern medicine at Universal Men's Clinic, I'm now enjoying a renewed quality of life.
Call us at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit universalmensclinic.com.
7:48. Time for a Sports Insider, brought to you by your Western Washington Toyota dealer. And stepping up to the plate is designated commentator James Osborne. Let's talk about this rule change that apparently has been floating around Major League Baseball. This is kind of a genius idea. The idea would be that the manager can be allowed to bat whoever he wants when trailing in the 9th inning. Just call somebody in from the bench, like you can do in football. Now, I would never bring this up if Danny O'Neill was here, because he's apoplectic about tinkering one jot or tittle with baseball. But
against the evolution of baseball. He wants it to remain the same.
He's an originalist.
Yeah, I'm excited by this idea, though.
Yeah, it's cool. For context, it's not going to happen this year, and it wasn't even really floated as part of the rules committee to actually make the change. But it is something that we've heard whispers of things like this years ago that eventually get voted on by the rules committee. So down the line, this could be a possibility. And I'm with you guys. I actually really like this rule a lot.
And the MLB exec made a good point. Says no other sport has the best players sitting on the bench in the final minutes of the game. Imagine LeBron, Brady, Ronaldo watching from the sidelines. And I hear that and go, yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah. And baseball's had a little bit of an identity crisis in sports as sports have developed. Basketball and soccer and football have all just continued to soar in terms of popularity worldwide and in the United States, but baseball has sort of lagged. They haven't had the same kind of growth potential. So I think that doing something like this would allow them to market their stars better. I mean, can you imagine that Nelson Cruz is the guy who hits every 9th inning whenever things are going wrong, and you have a player
stay for that inning.
Yeah, and you have a player that now has developed a clutch gene too, which is a really cool thing.
Now, I've managed baseball through the high school level, through kids 16 and under, something like that. Managing is very important at those times. So how would it work in practicality? What, Nelson Cruz just bats 3 times in a row? He gets out, then you were like, well, let's give him another shot. You just keep letting your guy go, or do you have to...
Maybe you get it once, like the wild card.
How would it work in practicality? I just put my guy, he strikes out, whatever. You're back up again. Good luck, pitcher.
Yeah, they'll have to work out some of the little details about that, but I'd imagine that that's the one thing you get to do. You get to pick 3 guys and announce it. And another thing that this is really beneficial to is that baseball's moving towards having, instead of a closer, having a high leverage pitcher, they call them. A guy that they designate and say, this guy is our best pitcher and we're going to put him in the biggest moment of the game. And that's become increasingly more the 7th and 8th inning and not the 9th. So teams are seeing the 9th inning being finished by a guy who's not the best pitcher, and then oftentimes not the best hitters are up there either. So what's really on the line at the end of the game? It's a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, speaking of pitchers, I read this nice fat article about Marco Gonzalez in the Seattle Times. It sounds like they're keeping a very close eye on him as the next star pitcher.
Yeah, I don't know if star pitcher might be the right way to go, but I would say that he's a really, really important arm to watch. They've got 4 rotation spots pretty well locked up heading into the spring. But that 5th one, Marco Gonzalez pitched a little bit last year and wasn't very good. He had a 5.5 ERA and only won 1 game in 8 starts. So not good. But if they don't...
Because of injuries, though.
No, he was not great.
Oh, interesting. Because I had read that he went through a year of pectoral strain and all of this. And
so he had been recovering from surgery that had happened a year ago. So he was still, I guess, kind of getting back into form. But long story short, if they don't keep him on the Major League roster to break camp, they likely will lose him to another team. He's out of options. So if he either makes the rotation or there's a chance he's not playing for the Mariners. And they gave up a good prospect to get him last year.
And also introduce us to the new center fielder, D. Gordon, who was on second base and now is in center field. And I've been reading about him for a couple of days now. Why is it a big deal to go from second base? I can see going to first base from center field might be a big deal, but why second?
Yeah, center field is considered the most important defensive position, center field and shortstop, the 2 most important defensive positions in baseball. And so to move a player from second base, which isn't necessarily the most important, to the very most important defensive position, you would think that there might be some differences there, and that the amount of space you have to cover in center field is the most amount of space of any position in baseball, compared to second base is a limited range. So the importance of being able to identify a fly ball, its direction, whether it's deep or short, how it's slicing, all that stuff is not natural to an infielder, let alone moving to center field, the most difficult defensive position in baseball.
So second base is considered a relatively easy position?
Generally speaking, historically people have hidden athletes there that aren't great. It's moving more towards the position where shortstop and second base are both.
I just wish I'd known that when I was playing Little League, because I was looking for a place to hide, and I chose right field. They kept hitting out there.
No, that's where they normally hide people in Little League, is in the younger ages, is right field. Because most people pull the ball.
Yeah.
Most right-handed hitters would hit it to left field. They don't go the opposite way.
So you were hidden there.
So I was hidden.
Sorry to bring it to you.
Excellent.
For a second there, you were a stop.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
James Osborne from 710 ESPN. It is time for traffic, brought to you by Budget Batteries. Here's for some.
And we just keep taking hits for the drive on I-5 southbound getting into and through Marysville. We now have a new multi-car crash southbound I-5. Looks like it's blocking the left lane right as you get off at downtown Marysville there at the exit at 528. And we are slammed all the way well back to 116. And we've already had snow in the area, so that has not been a pleasurable drive. You're losing probably 20 minutes now on that drive between Arlington and Everett. Once you get down to that, you have a nice long break until you get to Linwood, and then that's when you really start bogging down. It's an off and on grind almost all the way into Seattle from Linwood. And the 405 drive is not as bad through Canyon Park, still pretty slow through the 160th interchange, and then really slammed all the way down through 85th and Kirkland. So we're looking at about an hour and 10 minutes from Everett to Bellevue and about an hour from Everett to Seattle. We're also crawling westbound I-90 across Mercer Island before it loosens up across the middle of the lake. We're at 45 to 50 minutes on northbound 405 trying to get through Renton all the way up through Newcastle. Also losing a couple minutes westbound 90 getting up the hill out of Issaquah. The Federal Way to Seattle drive is really not all that bad. We're back down to 50 minutes on that drive. Also about 50 on the Valley Freeway, so not too bad there.
Sandy Hook shooting, and over 2 years they decided to allow not teachers but administrators to carry concealed pistols on campus. He says it took some convincing to get the school board behind the idea, but they did eventually get on board after realizing they could be targets.
There was a shooting in Florida in a school board. A man came in because his wife had been fired by the school board, and he comes in the school board meeting, spray paints a circle and puts a vendetta on it, drops the spray can, and then pulls the pistol out. There was nobody there to protect the school board.
Well, as turned out, an armed guard at the school board meeting in that case shot and killed the man who pulled the pistol. So the Tacoma School Board gave the go-ahead, and now there's one administrator with a gun in each school. They all have the same weapon and ammunition.
Everybody carries a 9mm. There's rationale behind that. All the bullets that we use, they're all flagellants where they won't go through a person if you shoot them. They mushroom, so they really shouldn't go through a person because we don't want that bullet to go through somebody to hit a child or something like that.
And yes, Mr. Cerna is one of those armed administrators, but the names of the rest are kept secret. It's like the air marshals on planes. If the attacker doesn't know who has the gun, they can't prepare for it. And Cerna believes it's especially crucial to have staff carry weapons in a rural school district like his.
The average gap time is 12 to 14 minutes across this country. 12 to 14 minutes before an officer arrives. So think about that. If I have someone in every building, which we do, that gap time becomes seconds.
And his idea has the support of the district's parents. So we asked him, what would he say to people in Seattle who might have their doubts about doing something like that here?
My question is, are your kids safe? That's the first question I ask them. And they don't know. And when they don't know, that means no.
Superintendent Cerna and his team each went through 40 hours of training, including classroom work on firearm safety and maintenance. They train twice a month at the range, and they have to qualify using standards which he says are more stringent than many police departments. It's considered part of their professional development. And he acknowledges that some districts don't take training quite as seriously as he does.
What they do in Colorado, twice a year. That's it. Is someone prepared twice a year? Come on. Put a gun in their hand, just 2 trainings a year. No, that doesn't cut it. Absolutely not.
And beyond the training, he's very selective about who he allows to carry a weapon.
With my administrators, not all of them are carried because some of them I wouldn't let carry. And you've got to trust somebody that has your back. You have a trained police officer, sheriff, undersheriff, and he wouldn't go in. Well, why didn't he go in? Was he afraid for his life? Was he close to retirement? You got to have people that have your back all the time.
And although the teachers in the Topless District do not have guns, each classroom does have a baseball bat and pepper spray at the ready. So far, there is one state legislator, Senator Phil Fortunato, working on legislation that would allow arming teachers in Washington state, and Superintendent Cerna says he has been invited to help put that bill together. 11 past 8 o'clock, in time for the Cairo 7 pinpoint forecast. The mountain is now playing a game of peekaboo, but it is still there. And here's Nick Young.
You'll see some more sun breaks develop, so you'll probably see the mountain again today at times, but you still have some pockets where you're seeing convergent zone snow showers. They're dissipating, they're light. Temperatures are warming up to mainly above freezing now, so it's kind of slushy stuff. Again, it's very, very light, and that will taper off, and I don't expect too much for the afternoon. Now, tomorrow, I'm still waiting for the latest round of models, but I do think you could find some light, slushy snow during the morning commute. Some spots could be trace amounts to an inch or so, but the thing is, as we go throughout the morning, we warm up, and we'll still be in the mid-40s for the afternoon, so it'd be one of those things where yeah, some snow is falling and it's there and it's a nuisance, but then in the afternoon it's not much of an issue, except that then a convergent zone would form again in the afternoon. That's always fun. From there, Wednesday looks rainy and breezy. Scattered showers on Thursday. I think just mainly rain. Friday, you could see a little bit more wet snow mixed in the morning. No accumulation there. And then this weekend, a few showers, but it does look mainly dry. So the things to keep an eye on tomorrow morning, which we'll know more on when we see the new models here fairly soon, and then a wet and fairly breezy day on Wednesday.
It is a good night this morning. Very nice this morning. The radar is clear. We're seeing some sunshine. And now it is time for traffic, brought to you by Emerald Queen Casino. Here is Chris Sullivan.
And by far our worst drive right now is for those of you on southbound I-5 trying to get into and through Marysville. Not only has it been slow most of the morning, but we added a new crash about 15 or 20 minutes ago, blocking the left lane right as you get to the 528 interchange there in downtown Marysville. You're backed up for 4.5 miles behind it, probably losing 20 minutes through that drive. Then you get a nice long stretch once you get through it, all the way down south of the Linwood Split. Still looking at about an hour and 10 minutes for both of the drives from Everett to Seattle or Everett to Bellevue. Now to the Lake Bridges at this point. We are seeing some westbound slowing in the direction of 520 there through Montlake, but the worst of it is on the I-90 westbound drive across Mercer Island. It is just slammed there. Now 520 in the eastbound direction, we're seeing a lot of slowing from 405 up through Microsoft. It's really bumper to bumper there, and I think this is related to the fact that people trying to get off at 40th are running right into a crash on that ramp. which has been there for the last hour or so, and that's really slowing things down. Renton to Bellevue, about 43 minutes. Valley Freeway looking really good. The Federal Way to Seattle Drive is also looking really good at 45 minutes. Is some slowing trying to get into and through downtown Tacoma, and a little bit down 512 into the Puyallup area. This report brought to you by the Emerald Queen Casino. Welcome back to Master of Laughter, Sinbad. One night only, March 24th. Get your tickets for Sinbad live at the Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
32 at the Carter Subaru Studio at 8:14. This is Seattle's Morning News. As you know, the wheels of democracy sometimes grind very slowly. It can take weeks, even months, to get a bill passed the legislature, even with bipartisan support. But in an amazing display of legislative efficiency, state lawmakers managed to get a bill to shield their records from the public passed less than 48 hours after introduction. And to tell us how this legislative miracle was pulled off, we have Cairo Radio's Hannah Scott.
Dave, here's the background on this. For decades, the state legislature argued it was exempt from public disclosure laws other elected officials are subject to. In September, several media organizations trying to figure out where lawmakers had been and who they were talking to when coming up with the McCleary education funding fix last session, including the Associated Press, sued after lawmakers refused their records requests for a 7-month period back then for things like calendars, emails, text messages, and sexual harassment complaints.
So what prompted this was that the media wanted to know who lobbied whom when it came to school funding.
Big part of that was lobbyists, but they were looking for some other things too, as well as sexual harassment allegations, things like that. But the thing that initiated this was, they wanted to know who they were talking to and why they weren't there, maybe voting on things during session. So that request was denied. That lawsuit was filed. Then last month, the Thurston County judge sided with the media agencies and ruled individual state lawmaker offices are state agencies and therefore subject to the same public disclosure laws as other elected officials. Lawmakers are appealing that ruling, but Michelle Earl Hubbard, lawyer representing the coalition of media agencies in the lawsuit, says they took it even further last week, abandoning all of the usual rules to circumvent the court decision.
As it got past the point where you could have bills with public hearings, they secretly introduced on Thursday, with very late notice Wednesday, a bill they have apparently secretly been writing all this time that tries to overturn the trial court decision, tries to throw out our lawsuit, tries to say that they're not covered by the act, and to create their own law that they say will apply to them.
So here's the timeline of how this went down. Just before 4:30 Wednesday afternoon, lawmakers in the Senate filed a bill that removed the legislature from the voter-approved State Public Records Act, largely shielding many of their records. The next day, there was a very last-minute work session in committee that allowed for public comment for just the 5 people who managed to hear about it in time to show up, including Roland Thompson with Allied Newspapers of Washington, a plaintiff in that lawsuit.
For this hearing to take place tomorrow, instead of 1 publisher here, there'd be 20, maybe more. This is of great concern to us. I would never have expected this to happen. It's breathtaking to have a bill show up this late in session on this most important issue, and for the legislature to step into an ongoing lawsuit at this moment.
Voter Gordon Padgett managed to show up to warn lawmakers they were making themselves look bad.
Everything about the way this bill is being handled makes the average citizen leery of the legislation, leery of everyone in the legislature.
Then less than 24 hours after that, it quickly hit the Senate floor for a vote with no debate, just comments from the 2 sponsors of the bill about the importance of passing it, which lawmakers on both sides say is a big step forward because it does open up records for some calendars, communications with lobbyists, and in less than 10 minutes, it passed the Senate 41-7. Then, within minutes, it was up for a vote on the House floor, again with no debate. In fact, State Representative Melanie Stambo, who voted against the bill, told the Seattle Times debate was restricted, meaning lawmakers were not allowed to argue against it on the House floor. She described the process as wildly different from other bills where members are freely able to stand up and speak. Just 2 lawmakers in the House spoke before it passed, 83-14, both in favor of the bill, including Republican Representative Mike Shea.
This bill protects the people, specifically the rape victims that have contacted my office and many other offices. Specifically the whistleblowers from inside the federal government that have exposed massive and widespread corruption in some agencies. specifically some in local government that have exposed the same levels of corruption and allowed this body and the people of Washington State to respond without those people losing their jobs, without those people losing their reputations.
But Earl Hubbard says that argument doesn't hold water.
You don't expect when you go to your legislature that you're providing secret information or that that's going to be a secret communication. They're a government official in a state with a very strong public records law. So I don't understand why they can stand there and say they can't operate effectively with transparency.
Now, remember, who is Earl Hubbard again?
She is the lawyer representing the media groups in this lawsuit. So, and there are also, to be clear, provisions in the public records law that allow for redactions to protect somebody's anonymity in a situation like rape. Now, under this bill, records that will be disclosed include lawmaker calendars as well as emails between lawmakers and lobbyists, but it does not include emails between lawmakers and constituents, lawmakers and other lawmakers, or lawmakers and their staff. Final versions of disciplinary reports, including from investigations of sexual assault or harassment, would be available, but a lot of times those complaints don't get that far in the legislature, which is currently in the midst of retooling the way it handles those kinds of complaints.
Okay, now you're saying here that this does allow for some disclosure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
So in other words, emails, and it says here between emails and lobbyists.
Yes. So
all right.
that part we do get.
Now, this is, I thought part of it was that it was retroactive and it sort of cut off access to earlier records.
Right. So again, we're talking about the 7 month that the whole lawsuit started because these media agencies wanted the 7 month period, these records. Mm-hmm. There is a retroactive clause in this bill that so it won't kick in until July. So all those records that those media groups asked for, they will not get. Also, because this is retroactive, some experts are saying that this could be a way to completely undo that court decision because a statute can overrule what the court said. That's going to be up to the judge. It's going to be part of this ongoing lawsuit when this goes back to
just
court.
to bring us back to the reason for this whole lawsuit in the first place, to find out who was behind lobbying for the McCleary decision. Mm-hmm. Are those records going to be available then?
Because
they would not,
it's retroactive. Because
so when do records start becoming available?
July of this year.
July. Oh, so not for another 5 months.
Yes. Because yes, the records, any records created after July 1st of this year will become available. However, there's also an emergency clause in here that makes, because there's the governor, the minute he signs this bill becomes active. So what it does is it shields some of these public records, including all of the ones asked for in the lawsuit from last session. Mm-hmm. Now, moving forward after July 1st, records of communications between lobbyists and lawmakers will become available, but that's only for things that happen after this July.